strictly for the culture. Brothers and sisters, you have seen the t-shirts, the hats, the hoodies, the mugs in the hands of some of your favorite pro wrestling stars, podcasters, and influencers out there. And now it's time. Visit strictlyfortheculture.ca and you too can be part of the movement. Bigger than sweatshirts and commercial success, Strictly for the Culture aims to build with like-minded people and elevate their position in the world through knowledge, self-love, and a desire to unite. So what are you waiting on? Visit strictlyfortheculture.ca. Do it for the love. Do it for the knowledge. Most importantly, folks, do it strictly for the culture.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Welcome back to another edition of the Devon and The Duke podcast. It is a limited podcast series hosted by your main man, Duke Loves Wrestling, and of course, the Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, Mr. Devon Dudley. How you doing there, Devon?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Another day in paradise, my brother. I'll tell you, here in wonderful Boston, Massachusetts, we've gone 28 straight days without any rain. So finally tomorrow we're going to get some rain and cut this drought. So, thank God for that, man. But what's going on down there in Florida?
I wish we could say the same. We've getting rain just about every other day. I mean, it's a little brutal down here with that.
Are we in hurricane season officially down there?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, and for those who probably correct me who live in Florida, I believe the hurricane season starts June, I think. I think it starts as early as June and ends in December. I think. Don't hold me to that, but I believe that's about accurate.
So I wonder about that. And in the part of Florida that you live, how bad does it get? Like, do you have to worry about extreme flooding or things like that, or is it just a bad storm for you most of the time?
It's a bad storm. I live near Cape Canaveral, and the reason why they built the space center over there is because for some reason the hurricanes, when they do hit Florida, they kind of veer off towards the Atlantic or go inland, and they never get to the space center. And it's been like that. Now, don't get me wrong, hurricanes have come over there recently. I remember when I first moved out here, they said they don't do it. They haven't had a hurricane in 30 years. And then I come out here, and then all of a sudden, now they're coming. But what they said, what's going on is, like I said, it'll either veer off into the Atlantic before it gets over here, or to go inland going up towards Orlando, Apopka, Daytona, things like that. So it skips my area a lot of times. But when we do get it, it's like a rainstorm.
That's wild. That's wild. So did you purposely pick that area for that reason, or was that just an extra bonus for you?
Oh, hell no. I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. I don't know nothing about stuff like that. But I picked it because my ex-wife at the time, we were coming here. We were originally going to Orlando to look for property, and her uncle at the time said, "Why go to Orlando? Come look at here." I got off the plane, got a rental car. Me and the family went down there, and when I saw what I saw, I was like, "I'm sold." I didn't even look at a house yet. I just said, "I'm sold." Wow. It was a lot different then here, than especially in New York. And I just wanted something different from New York, and that's what I was reaching for.
Well, hey man, you picked the right one, so I guess you know how to pick them, so to speak. That's good stuff there. Speaking of which, you had a little field trip last week, right? You spent some time with our main man, another Hall of Famer, Mr. Diamond Dallas Page.
Unfortunately, I got to tell you before we went on here, I had to cancel that. There was a little Yeah, there was a little discrepancy there that I couldn't make it, and I called Dallas and told them I had a little bit of an emergency, so we have to reschedule and go down there. But what's going to go down is I'm going to go down there. I'm going to go to his version of the PC Center, and he's going to show me the proper way of breathing and the techniques, things like that, and how to really get into this DDP yoga. So I'm very excited to go. I was disappointed that I couldn't make it last Tuesday, but again, there's going to be other days where I'm going to be able to go spend a couple of days down there. Just like it's pretty much like the whole thing he did with Jake and Scott Hall, how they stayed at his house and he really helped them out. And that's what he's been doing for me with this back surgery because again, gave me hell. And you know, it got to the point where sometimes I didn't even know if I was going to be able to walk straight again. But long and behold, not only did I drop a lot of weight, but I also went and started doing the DDP yoga just like religiously. And now I've got no issues with my back, nor my walk, nor anything.
I love it. I love it. You hear that, Triple H? You hear that, HBK? All right, we got the old Devon back, so it's time now. It's time. We got to really get some business going now, right?
They could be looking at me right now. I don't know, but I just feel with everything that's going on, I was wondering how I would fit if I went back there. That would be the key. How would I fit if I went back? So, you never know. It could happen. Maybe it couldn't. Listen, I got the Legends deal. Me and Bubba kind of like another version of an ambassador to the company. So I'm happy with that. But I would love to go back to work there. I would love to help produce because when I was there, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I reached out to Hunter not too long ago, and I told him that. I said, thank you for everything. Thank you for also being the one that hired me in 2016 as a producer. I'm very grateful for that. So love the opportunity to come back and work with you again. If that poses whatever, give me a call. Let me know.
The folks from your learning tree, your former students there are tearing it up in the WWE right now. I mean, of course, Ref Jess, she continues to just be unstoppable at the great job that she does. But your guys, Tama and Leoa, these guys are just, oh my goodness. They showed up on NXT and tore the house down. Literally, fans didn't expect them to show up. They showed up with Jacob Fatu and really just went wild out there, man. So, your students are tearing it up out there. I'm sure they would love to have their mentor in the house. So again, I'm planting the seed, Triple H and HBK. I'm just planting the seed here.
Well, hopefully that seed gets heard. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
That's right. That's right. Now, speaking of what happens, they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I don't know, man. I'm gonna press you on this now because I got my folks out there. Vegas is my home away from home. When I want to get away, that's one of the places that I go to. Little birdie told me that you were out in Vegas having a good time too, right?
I was. I really had a really good time in Vegas. Anytime I go to Vegas, I seem to have a really good time. I love the glitz, the glamour, the shows, just the overall feel of Vegas. I really enjoy it. So whenever I go down there, I don't have to do anything. I can just sit at the bar and drink and still have a great time.
The energy, bro. The energy in Vegas is just unmatched, right? I mean, as a guy who's been all over the world, is there any other city that you can think of that has that kind of excitement and electricity in the air all the time like Vegas does?
No, I don't really know of any city like that. I really don't. I'm just being completely honest with you. I really don't. I think Vegas is a one of a kind, and again, I really enjoy it when I'm there.
That's wild. That's wild. Shout out to all of our friends out in Las Vegas. Again, just a wonderful city. It's wild because UFC just had their Vegas event where they did it at the Sphere, which is this new complex that is state of the art. Visually, it is like stimulation on 1,000. It's just crazy, bro. So the fact that they hosted this MMA event there
Like
was
stimulation
crazy.
on steroids. I wasn't in there, but you can see it as you're driving. It's incredible.
It looks like something from outer space, right?
It really does, and I would love to go inside. Next time I go to Vegas, I'm definitely going to try to go inside. It is truly breathtaking when you watch it from the outside. I've never seen anything like it.
It's wild. And again, the fact that they did an MMA event there, they did a UFC event there, and it was highly successful. Just it's amazing what technology is today, man. When we were growing up, we could have never imagined that something like that would ever exist, but yet here we are in the future, so to speak. But it's our present. It's
It,
wild.
it's
It's wild.
it's really impressive. It really is. Um, I'm just amazed, at just how technology just keeps getting better and better every time. I mean, it's incredible. It just blows you away. Just when you think they couldn't do anything else, bam.
And say that again. It would be amazing to see a WWE event. I don't think there are a lot of seats in the venue because of the structure itself is really the star of the show. But if WWE could financially make it make sense, can you imagine folks wrestling at a venue like that?
I, again, I think I would have to see the inside first to really be in complete awe and to really give an opinion on that because I heard it's just breathtaking.
Yeah, yeah, that would be cool. The Sphere is what it's called, folks. And if you get a chance to go to any concerts or even just take a tour of it, you definitely should. From a visual standpoint, it's the most impressive event center probably in the world. No two ways about it there. Um,
Hmm.
a, lo- a lot has happened in the pro wrestling world over the past week, Devon, since we last got together. And again, we were talking about NXT. They're gearing up to debut next month on the CW networks. And their first show on CW is going to be packed. I mean, they've already announced Randy Orton is going to be there, and a few other surprise guests are going to be there on that card wrestling. So they're going to be coming out of the gate with a knockout punch with big stars. I think CM Punk is showing up as well. What are your thoughts on that? On having the big stars from Raw and SmackDown show up on NXT, especially the first NXT show that's going to be on network television?
I think it's great. I mean, the talent helping out each other. I mean, that's what you want. And to have guys like CM Punk and to have guys like Randy Orton, show up there, it shows a lot. And I'm sure those guys love to help out the company any way they possibly can. But I think it's a tremendous thing. I think it's going to help them and really, really help them to really take off. NXT is in a class by itself. I'm sorry. I don't see any other developmental program that is as good as NXT. I mean, they really, really doing it. Even when I was there and I was producing, I had a lot of fun. Loved the talent that I was working with. They were all coachable. They all had a mindset of trying to be the best that they could possibly be. I mean, it was truly amazing to work with that staff. It really was. So I'm very happy to see and hear that these guys are really, really, taking it to another level in terms of, a new network and starting over. I can't wait to see the great things that's going to happen with them.
I'll tell you right now, it is really a declaration, so to speak. NXT is a third brand at this point. You get on network television, you sign a big contract. It's a third brand. It's not just developmental anymore. I mean, this is something that really it's going to hold its own right next to SmackDown, right next to Raw. Now, that's not to say that it's going to necessarily outdraw those legacy shows, so to speak, but it's certainly going to hold its own against everything else in the wrestling industry. There's no two ways about it. And the quality of the product, I have to say, because I watch it every week, there is no other wrestling out there, especially as a wrestling show, that flows better than NXT. They pack in so many matches, yet it doesn't feel rushed. It makes sense. And they advance storylines in such a creative and sharp way. It really reminds me of how wrestling used to be. You know what
Mm,
I mean? It's very easy to follow on a week to week basis. And even if you miss a week or two, they do so many great recaps that you don't feel like you're out of place when you check back in. So, kudos to what the folks are doing down there in NXT. I hate to say it, and I know, Devon, you're probably going to want to put me through a table for saying this, but in my opinion, I think Shawn Michaels, HBK, does a better job at booking NXT than what Triple H was doing years back. I just, there's something about that programming today. In my opinion, we're seeing the best in terms of formatting. We're seeing the best version of NXT that I've ever seen.
Well, I don't know if Triple H still has a hand in it. He might still have a hand. You know, Shawn Michaels might have to go through Triple H in order to make some of the decisions that he's making. So who's to say that that's not the case? We don't know really. And even if I don't think we'll ever know really, but again, they're doing a great job, and all around their ratings are up. Talent is happy, the locker room is happy. I'm just hoping that they keep up the momentum and keep going because again, they got a great thing going on. So it's only, sorry, there's only a matter of time to see where this company can go from there.
Agreed 100%. Speaking of which, I got to tell you, I was watching Raw the other night with my lady, and she had made a comment. Now this is a black woman, and she doesn't necessarily identify as a wrestling fan, but since we've been together, she puts up with it because of me. She goes to the live events and she loves that. The TV show Total Divas definitely got her more emotionally invested in some of the people in the company at the time, especially John Cena, who's a local guy here in Massachusetts, so that's easy to follow for her. But this pairing of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair has really resonated with her, to see these black women playing off of each other and unapologetically being themselves. They're being black without having to be caricatures, and they're different, but yet they complement each other. They look incredible. They get it done in the ring. Obviously Bianca, she's headlined WrestleMania before, so we know she can get it done in the ring. And Jade, she still is learning, but she's improving, thank goodness. So overall, it's just been a really fun experience to see those two ladies do their thing. And then even in NXT, Jada Parker is just amazing. And in the same vein, she is unapologetically herself. That's a black woman who's going out there being herself and showing you that this is what happens when you invest in that population. You know what I mean? They will give you a return on that investment and get people who may not necessarily traditionally be wrestling fans to tune in just to see what's going to happen next with them. I want to get your take on that, Devon, because as a trainer and a mentor and somebody who especially has been such a successful trainer and mentor to women wrestlers, what's your take on WWE investing in women of color, especially black women, as of late?
I mean, black women are just as important to the wrestling business, and as any other race, just like black women have been, important in society. Just as much as any other race. People need to stop, degrading black women to the point where you don't include them into things or don't think that they're relevant or anything like that, because they are, and I'm so happy if they're investing in that and doing the right thing. Thank God. Thank God Triple H is doing that. So my hat goes off to him and continuously doing that.
Indeed. I mean, it's really, it's beautiful to see. I love it. I love all the diversity that we see every single week across WWE programming, on social media, in all of their campaigning, in their advertisements. This is what it's all about. This is the vision of pro wrestling that I had always hoped to eventually see in my lifetime. And I'm so proud that they're delivering on this consistently, and they're not taking their foot off the gas. In fact, they're continuing to invest. When you see the new recruits and some of the folks coming up through NXT Level Up and what have you, it's like, wow, this is really a whole skittle bag of fruit flavors, so to speak. There's so much diversity. There's so much going on here, and it all works. So, kudos on that front. Now, it's official. The Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500 has come out in digital form, and I know it's going to be hitting newsstands soon. This year, Devon, I'm going to give you the top 5. Number 1, so literally voted the number 1 wrestler in the world, Cody Rhodes. Surprise, surprise, right? Number 2, we got Swerve Strickland. Number 3, Will Ospreay. Number 4, Seth freaking Rollins. And number 5, Naito, who's out there in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So let me get your take on this here, Devon. The PWI 500, first of all, do you agree? Would you say that Cody Rhodes is the number 1 wrestler on the planet right now?
I mean, he's been defending the WWE title since he's won it in WrestleMania. He's taking on all comers for the title. In my opinion, God, I'm very bad on stuff like this. I hate to say it, but sometimes you got to think it's a work. Who is number 1 and who isn't. It all depends. I don't know. I mean, Roman Reigns is nowhere. Where's Roman Reigns in this?
So here's the interesting part. Roman did not qualify to be in any of those spots because he hadn't had enough singles matches over the review period. He had a bunch of tag matches and things like that, but he didn't have enough singles matches to be ranked that high, so to speak. So because of that, he wasn't.
Here's where I disagree. Yes, that might be what you're saying is the truth, but who has been on top of the wrestling game, before he lost the title at WrestleMania, before his dad passed away? Roman Reigns was the talk of the wrestling business. He was the hottest thing around. So I just don't agree with that. I don't agree. I just don't agree with it.
I grew up reading the after mags, as we used to call them. So the whole Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the Wrestler Weekly, all those magazines and what have you. I learned how to reading, the Boston Herald, the Boston Globe, and the after mags. So I have a sentimental space in my heart for Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and all the folks over there know that. Kevin, who's the editor, Harry Burkett, all those folks there. But I'm going to tell you right now, I agree with you. I think it's a travesty that you take a guy like Cody Rhodes, who is a crybaby, who, the biggest thing that he's ever accomplished in his life is getting whooped by The Rock, and having his mama be called out because The Rock was whooping him out there in front of the world, whooped him like he should have been whooped a long time ago. Because when he left the company and he started mouthing off and he broke Triple H's throne, that let me know that no matter what this guy does, he's going to have to pay for it. Okay, so I was glad when the Rock whooped him, and I'm surprised that they put the belt on him, quite frankly, because Roman Reigns has carried that company throughout the most successful period in the history of pro wrestling. So I agree with you. I don't care how many matches. If Roman wrestled 100 matches or 1 match, he should be at the top of everybody's list because he's the man. So to the folks over at Pro Wrestling Illustrated, you got heat with me, which you already know, because you put a guy like Cody Rhodes, who deserves another whooping, and I can't wait for The Rock to come back to do that, instead of anointing our tribal chief Roman Reigns as the number 1. He's number 1 until he decides not to wrestle anymore.
Right.
So I'm with you on that one, Devon. I'm with you on that one 100%. Well, let me ask you this, because you've been ranked in the PWI 500 most of your career and what have you. Does that matter to you? I mean, Cody put up a tweet and said that these rankings matter to him, and anybody who says it doesn't, they're not telling the truth. Of course, the boys like to know what their rankings are. Through the years when you were active, did you care about stuff like this at all?
I mean, it was always nice to see where they ranked you and things like that. But I remember Bubba used to always say it's a work. It's a complete work. And, they're not really getting the stats and all of that together like they would if it was legit, like if they did it in Vegas or something like that. It's a work. So I tend to agree with Bubba there. I do know during the days when I was wrestling, it was a big deal in the locker room because the guys just, for whatever their music going to have, they just wanted to be ranked and see, where they would be. So if you were ranked if you were ranked within the from 1 to 5, of course you felt a certain way, but it's one of those things where it all depends on the individual and how they look at things. I mean, it's a sticky kind of thing,
Well, let me say this. In Pro Wrestling Illustrated, The first time you were ranked was back in 1996. You were ranked number 295 out of 500.
Yeah,
The last time,
I had
what's that?
the business.
Yeah, exactly. You were just breaking in, so to speak. And the last time you were ranked was back in 2016. You were ranked number 153 out of the top 500. So that's pretty good. Your highest rank. Listen to this now. Your highest rank in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated PWI 500 was back in 2013. You were ranked number 32.
Right.
No, I
Okay.
take that back. Hold on. 2012, you were ranked number 25. You were number 25 out of the top 500 wrestlers back in 2012.
Oh wow. Okay. And I always had a gripe with them because I had a gripe with PWI for many, many years because two reasons. Number one, as a fan watching it before I broke into the business, I was always eager to get Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines, read the magazine, and also see who won Tag Team of the Year and all of that. And I remember saying, one day I'm going to win that. I'm going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then here it is, me and Bubba on top of the world, and we win it 2 years, and I never received a plaque. I was like, damn it, where's the plaque? I waited for years to get a plaque, and you don't give me a plaque. And I've said this to him many times and never got one. I was like, damn it, I need to start a petition. Where's Devon's Tag Team of the Year thing? I don't give a damn if I get it now 30 years later. I want my damn plaque. No, but also, I remember when I was doing the Reverend Devon, and they never ranked me at all. And I felt like I felt slated over that. And I'm like, it's not like I was inactive. I've wrestled, during the whole Reverend Devon thing. People might not have thought it was whatever, but you could have put me somewhere, and they didn't. So to me, I took that as a slap in the face, and I never ever picked up a PWI magazine since then.
Well, wait a second. We might have a misunderstanding here. What year were you Reverend Devon, if you remember?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe 2000. When was the first draft?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So
Was that? Ooh,
it was either
that's
I think
not
it was
07?
2002 to 2000. Yeah, 2002.
2002. Okay, I gotta check that out
Though the
because
Reverend Devon was only 6 months, I still wrestled before that with Bubba, and then we got back together after Bubba. So there was never no break in between.
good point. Good point. So let me check that out because if we're saying 2000, oh wow, you're right. In 2001, you were ranked number 36, and in 2003, you were ranked number 69. You were not
Mhm.
ranked in 2002. Wow. Wow.
Totally just
Damn.
left me.
Well, you know something? Our friends over at Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Kevin, I'm not even gonna talk to any of your other brain trust. I'm talking to you, Kevin. Kevin, you need to answer to this. Why wasn't Devon Dudley ranked in 2002 in the PWI 500? Especially considering the fact that in 2001 he was ranked 36 and in 2003 he was ranked 69. There was no reason why he wasn't ranked in 2002. You're going to have to make this right, Kevin. We're not playing with you. You're the editor in chief over there. I don't care if you were not around during those years. You're there now, and we're going to hold you accountable for that, brother. So listen, pick up the phone because the Duke is calling. We're gonna get to the bottom of this for you, Devon. Don't worry, bro.
Look, it's been almost 30 years. It doesn't even bother me no more. They I just so I just washed my hands with it. And like I said, I never really read the magazine ever again after all of that.
Wow,
I,
wow.
I
We
just
got to bring you back home.
I just felt like it was a slap in the face, And when it was addressed back then, there was, oh, we didn't know that. We didn't know. No, that's a mistake. And I was like, whatever. It's already out, so you can't go back and change it.
Wow. So we listen. I'm telling you, Kevin, pick up the phone, brother. We got something to talk about here because Devon has never gotten his plaque. You left him off the list in 2002. This is one of the greatest of all time. A slap in the face that will not go without a receipt, Kevin. You know what I'm talking about now. Pick up the phone. We're going to talk about this. That's right. That's right. Let's go over to our second favorite topic of the week.
Oh,
With the listeners always get excited about Devon.
boy.
And you and I were joking about this offline because we've been getting tremendous positive feedback for Devon and the Duke, and I want to thank everybody out there for that. It truly is a blessing to know that you're enjoying the show and enjoying hearing a different side of Devon Dudley, you know, the man behind the persona, so to speak, which is really, really special. But, you know, the folks who take issue with the show and the things that we say, you hate listen to the show, so to speak, and you're always coming after me, but you never mention Devon by name. You're always saying, you know, you latched on to a Hall of Famer and you have him saying things that aren't true. And this, I don't have Devon Dudley doing anything. This is a grown man who's like double my size and could literally slam dunk me in a basketball hoop. There ain't nothing I could make this man do. Okay. So when he's speaking, it's coming from the heart and it's coming from his experience as an expert, as a legend, as a 5-time Hall of Famer in pro wrestling. So keep that in mind when you hear any critique of anything, including AEW, which Devon is always putting over the talent, and he's always taking aim at the management, but he's always giving a suggestion on how things can improve. So I just want to make sure that we continue to remind people of that before they get all upset over the latest thing that's about to be said here. Before I even move forward, do you have anything to add to that?
I never buried talent. I mean, I never buried the office. I just, said that I've always said Tony needs help. He can't do it on his own. Tony has to be able to have somebody that can tell him when he makes a mistake, no, don't do that. Or yes, this works. That's all I've ever said. That's all we both ever said. So I'm not sure why people get upset. I've even put the company over in terms of I want to see it succeed. I want to see it do well. I love the talent that's there. Even the people that I have not met, I like them. So I'm not understanding why people just feel the need to think that we're burying AEW when we're not. It's like, stop already. You're the people that we complain about in the locker room, and you don't think it's you, but it is you. There's no reason to sit here and to say, oh, well, Duke and Devon, blah, blah. We're not saying anything bad. We're actually trying to help to give ideas. And if they don't want to do CDI, so be it. You don't have to. Just stop. God, I mean, this is the one thing about social media I hate. Everybody's got a damn opinion. If you were that good in what you thought or said, then you would be working for a major company and being on top. You'd be an executive, but you're not. You're on YouTube, you're on Twitter or what have you, freaking voicing your opinion when it really doesn't matter.
Again, you're hearing that from a 5-time Hall of Famer, a legend, letting you know how it is, folks. Straight with no chaser. That's right. That's right. So they had their all-out pay-per-view, AEW, and one of the featured matches was Hangman Page going up against Swerve. Swerve is no longer the champion. He had dropped the title to Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan. So this was just a grudge match that involves two guys who've been feuding with each other off and on for the past couple of years, Swerve and Hangman. Now, this match was referred to as an unsanctioned match, which means that anything that happens in the match, the company's not responsible. So it's basically a hardcore match without calling it a hardcore match. It's supposed to be graphic by nature and what have you. And certainly they went there. At one point during the match, Devon, I want to get your opinion on this. Hangman Page used a needle to inject Swerve in the mouth with what people presume, at least this is what they were alluding to, injected him with a sedative using a hypodermic needle. So after he stuck the needle in Swerve's mouth, in his, at his cheek, and then squeezed the needle in, pushed whatever was inside the needle in, then he hit Swerve in the head with a chair. So people have been, some people have been defending this as, oh, it's just wrestling and it's okay and this and that. You and I were talking offline about this a little bit, and I shared my opinion with you, and I'm going to say it on the air. Folks, I'm an 80s baby. In addition to that, I'm the son of law enforcement, both of my parents. I grew up at a time where the crack epidemic was ushered in on the heels of the heroin epidemic. And There was a period of time where they both were neck and neck before crack took over for a while there. And when you have cops or parents and the gangs are happening and the drugs are out there and what have you, there were nights where you, as a young kid, and I'm talking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I was worried if my parents were going to make it home because of how violent it was during those years. Boston today is the safest city in America, the safest major city. We have the lowest crime rate, violent crime rate in America right now, which is fantastic for a major city. Back then, it was common to have 300-400 murders a year. That was common around here. Now we don't even touch 100. We don't even come close to it. So thank God for that. Anyway, I grew up at a time where it wasn't uncommon to walk down the street and see dirty needles. I grew up at a time where cops, when they would pat people down, they'd have to be concerned about going into somebody's pocket and potentially getting stuck by a needle when they did it, and then potentially having to deal with hepatitis or getting injected with drugs or worse, AIDS. That was a real thing. So because of that, I have a very strong opinion about this sort of thing, and I don't like it. I think it's disgusting. And I think that it's ridiculous and we've gone too far. That's my opinion. So now Devon, as an expert and a man who was in ECW, one of the ECW legends, there was a lot of quote unquote extreme things happening there as well. What are your thoughts on using a hypodermic needle during a match and literally sticking it in the guy's mouth and then pushing the substance in and what have you? What are your thoughts on that, Devon?
Well, I think that might be going a little too far. I didn't see it, so I can't really speak on it. But that's going a little too far. I've heard things mentioned about it, but I've yet to see it. I don't know. I just feel like that's just a little too much. Because where do we go from there? Once you do things like that, where do you go from there? Shock TV is no longer Shock TV. Now it's kind of like, what the hell am I watching? Type of deal. So stuff like that. I know there was controversy and things that were said about the whole plastic bag over Daniels' head and, attempted murder that Moxley was trying to do. I know that was considered, pushing it a little bit too extreme. When ECW came, we didn't do things like that. We used the chairs, the ladder, the thumbtacks, the barbed wire bats, things like that. That was different. It really was. And people say, it's not that different. Yes, it is. It's very different compared to what's being done today. Today, this stuff can really maim you and kill you. Not saying that a barbed wire bat couldn't, but the way we did it, it was safe. Regardless if you think so or not, it was safe. And we knew how to work it. And we knew how to do it. So I don't know about this new generation and the things that they try to do right now to create shock or to try to reinvent the wheel that we did in ECW. It's very different now. So I don't know. I can't say I condone that, but to each his own, I guess.
Staying on that point, because there was, chair shots during the All Out pay-per-view. And as somebody who went through the era where chair shots were a commonplace during matches and what have you, what are your thoughts in 2024, especially as a coach and a trainer, as somebody who produces matches and what have you? What are your thoughts on chair shots today?
Well, we know the effects of chair shots now compared to what we didn't know back then in 96 and up. You were considered a puss if you put your hands up and blocked it. Now, I bet you some of us wish we did because we have memory losses and things like that. So it's one of those things where, we have to be very mindful and careful of, hurting the brain because we weren't thinking that back then. And a lot of people are paying for it today. There are times where Bubba and I can have a conversation and in mid-sentence, Bubba can forget what he's saying or what we're even talking about because the chair shots were just so brutal back then and we did nothing to protect ourselves. Same goes with me. I could be in mid-conversation with you on this podcast, be in mid-sentence and then totally forget some of the things that I have, that I was talking about. Just because the simple fact that the brain just stops. It's like, wait a minute, what are we talking about? it kind of does that for me sometimes. So, a lot of us during that era basically are experiencing it one way or another. What we put our bodies through back then was just brutal. We didn't know the ramifications of it, and now we're realizing it now. So now it's better to take, caution for the newer generation to try to protect them as much as possible so they don't wind up ending up like us.
Well said. Well said. I mean, a lot of folks say, well, they used to do it. And some of these folks, well, Devon, he was in ECW. They did chair shots. Yeah, folks, whatever you did 30 years ago, that was 30 years ago. I would hope that as science and technology continues to progress, that we've learned something from the past and that we improve and don't make the same mistakes that we've made in the past. We don't want to go backwards. Concussions are real. Head trauma, CTE, all that stuff is real, man. You look at in the NFL, this Tua guy who just had another nasty concussion, and people are really starting to speak up, especially former NFL players, and saying, you know what, Tua, it's time to shut it down and possibly retire because you've had too many major concussions in a short period of time. You want to be able to live. There is life after football, and we want you to have a full life after football. And we're concerned that ain't going to happen if you keep, getting your head slammed around like that. This is real stuff. This is real stuff. Devon, you're a football fan. Have you been keeping up with what's been going on with Tua?
I've heard little things here and there, but I do know he received another concussion. I didn't know how many it was, but I did hear that he did receive one.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like he's getting a major concussion every year, unfortunately. And people are concerned, man. There's no, and rightfully so. People are concerned because we know about CTE and what have you, and it's scary. It's scary. Again, if you know better, then you got to do better. And you know, what are these kids who are watching along? What are they taking from all of this, right? And that's the scariest part about it. And we don't want kids. Listen, when I was a kid playing football in high school, um, I was having head to head, contact with people, and especially on defense. And everyone was like, "Yeah, you knocked him out, and yeah, great, great." And now that I think about it, damn, thank God I didn't play in college. We didn't have a football team at the school that I went to, but thank God I didn't play in college because that was actually a thing that was part of what I was doing, and quite frankly, what I was shown to do in terms of how to tackle. You just run them over. However you got to do it. If you got to get your head in it, get your head in it. Whatever it takes. Damn. You know what I mean? So for these folks who've been playing their entire lives and then moving on and playing on a professional level, my goodness. And then some of those folks who transition into pro wrestling, you can't be taking chair shots on top of all that. Come on. So, especially the AEW, I can't figure out the leadership structure there and why they keep allowing these sort of things to happen because again, we're going backwards, man. It's like Tony Khan has not learned from the mistakes of the past that other folks have made. It's almost as if he wants to usher in a period in time where he was a fan and he wants to replicate everything good or bad because he was a big ECW fan and death match wrestling fan after ECW and what have you. It's just a weird concept to me, Devon. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I don't know. Duke, I don't know, man. Again, life is just, it's so weird now, man. This is not the life that I'm used to growing up in. And just things that were okay back then and made sense doesn't make sense anymore. And I don't think it'll ever go back to the way times used to be. It's just every time you think you got it figured out, the game changes. And it's to the point now where I don't really have an opinion anymore because what I say or what you say really doesn't matter. It's like society has just lost itself completely. And, there's a reason why our parents and grandparents survived the way they did because they made sense of things. They might have slipped along the way, but they made sense. There was no disrespect. There was none of that. I don't know, man. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I don't get it either. That's the tough part. But how do you make sense out of people who are choosing to do the wrong thing? You know what I mean? That's just the definition of insanity, so to speak. Um, moving on, an interesting thing popped up, and I'll close on this. SmackDown has come back to the USA Network, and congratulations, WWE. They got an increase on their TV rights deal for SmackDown. So we had a cool period now where SmackDown, Raw, and NXT are all on USA, which is just really cool, all in one place. And Raw is not moving to Netflix until January, so it's going to be on USA till then, which is great. But for SmackDown, one of the changes that happened is the theme song. And the theme song for SmackDown is performed by Megan Thee Stallion, which is really cool. So it's a modern thing, it's a hip thing. She's one of the most recognizable people in the world right now, big music artist and what have you, an icon in terms of a celebrity. Um, a lot of folks have taken issue with Megan Thee Stallion having the SmackDown theme. And what's interesting is the folks who I've seen complain about this all look the same. Bunch of white guys who are taking issue with this black female hip hop artist who is known for twerking and things like that. Oh, this is disgusting. And why are they doing this? Where's the rock and roll and all this other nonsense here? What are your thoughts on just the whole notion of taking issue with something so trivial like this? I mean, does a theme song of a damn wrestling show really matter that much, Devon?
No, I don't think the theme song matters, although the theme song can get you into what you're about to watch. I remember the song Beautiful People by Marlon Manson when SmackDown opened that. I used to love that because it was so energetic. It made me want to watch SmackDown, even though I was a part of it. You know, even to this day, when I look at old clippings of it, and I get into it. I'm doing it on the ring apron at my school. You know, I play it all the time at the school, and to me, it can set the mood for you when you watch the show. You know, it's just one of those things. I don't know, man. I again, things that used to be are no longer, man. It's sad.
Yeah, but we got to change with the times too. I mean, when you think about who the audience was for SmackDown back then, that was a particular age group and a particular group of people within society at that time. Well, whoever Marilyn Manson was back then, Meg Thee Stallion is on that level today. She's on that same level of popularity. She's selling records. She's recognizable. Her music is that popular. So, WWE is just doing the same thing that they've always been doing. They're finding the next big music artist and they're tapping into them because they want to tap into the fan base that those folks attract. That's business. You know what I mean?
True. I mean, look, I'll put it this way: you have to go through. You have to go with the times. You know, you might not like it, but if that's what's hip, listen, I don't like today's rap music. But but again, it's hip, it's hot, it's happening, and people love it. So going back to the days of Houdini, nice and smooth, and all the stuff that I used to listen to growing up, Eric B and Rakim, it's just not relevant anymore. People are just like, oh, that's old, and we don't want to listen to that. But you're forgetting what got today's artists here. If it wasn't for yesterday, today wouldn't be here.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And it's funny. LL Cool J just came out with a new album. And thinking back to who LL Cool J is, he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all that good stuff there. He's an icon, probably the most successful rapper of all time because he's done it, Jesus, almost 50 years now. You know what I mean? He's managed to stay relevant during this whole period of time. And you're right. I mean, the younger kids can't relate to a guy like LL Cool J, who is a big deal to us because we know the history. But at the same time, we got to make sure that we're providing something for that next generation because they're going to be here when we're gone. And in order for this wrestling industry in particular to survive, you constantly have to tap into the younger folks. So for all of us who are over 35, 40, 50 years old, 60 years old, whatever. Look, man, they're not marketing to us anymore, nor should they. You know what I mean? When we see our nostalgia acts and what have you, we still get a piece of what we love the most. For those of you who still love Ric Flair like me and Hulk Hogan and even the Dudley boys, The Rock, they're still tapping in. We still get pieces of that, and that's great. But listen, they got to tap into that next generation because they're going to be here when we're gone. And if it dies with us, then there's no wrestling industry. And who the hell wants that? So, I understand people's perspective, but I also understand the importance of keep the flame alive. It's like the Olympic flame. Never allow it to extinguish because once it's gone, it's gone. That's my take on that. Devon, what's coming up for you, man? Do you got any live bookings that folks can check out and come see you and get some autographs and rap with you a little bit?
No, I'm home for the next week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. So I'm going to be home, relaxing, trying to get some things done around the house. I got a lot of gardening I have to do, things like that. So I'm going to keep myself occupied and doing this. I'm still making deals, trying to come visit people in places I haven't been to yet. But, we have a show coming up in Providence, Rhode Island, coming up in November, Bubba and myself. We're definitely going to get that. That's going to be November Comic-Con, the 1st through the 3rd. We'll be there for all 3 days. So that's coming up. I have Mayhem Comic-Con, November 23rd and 24th coming up. I'll be there signing autographs and doing that good stuff. Also, in Long Island, New York, the big event. I will be there Saturday, November 9th. Bubba and myself would be there. Also, Paul Heyman would be in attendance. I'm not saying he's going to be with us, but you could always probably catch a picture with all three of us. So me, myself, Bubba, and Paul Heyman will be in attendance. So please come check us out. That will be November 9th at the big event in Suffolk Credit Union Arena in Brentwood, Long Island. Going back home.
I love it. And it's funny. I've been getting inquiries about whether or not you're going to be down there in Rhode Island coming up in November. So this is official. The Dudley boys are going to be in the house?
Dudley boys will be in the house, the main event.
I love it. So you hear that, all of our brothers and sisters down there in Providence, it is official. The Dudley boys will be there. So you got to make sure you're there. Certainly, you get a chance to meet these legends, get your autographs, the whole 9 yards there. Really, really special stuff there. I love it. And, anyone else out there, if you have an event, if you have a live event, especially these conventions, whether it be a pro wrestling specific convention, a Comic-Con, Devon Dudley is available for you. You know what I mean? He doesn't mind coming out as long as, business is right. And certainly you can reach out to Devon and get that squared away ASAP. Don't wait. You want to get this man locked in before it's too late because his schedule fills up like that. I mean, just at a drop of a dime, suddenly this guy's booked and busy again for months on end. So, Devon, what's the best way that folks out there can reach you, especially if they want to book you for their events?
Yep, absolutely. You can hit me up on Testify Devon on my Instagram and also on my Twitter. You can inbox me and I'll definitely get it. You can also hit me up in an email at Devon Dudley, DVON Dudley 96 at gmail.com.
All right. Now, like I said, do not wait. If you want Devon Dudley, the 5-time Hall of Famer, to be at your event so that all the family members from babies to grandma and everybody in between, if you want them at your event, you got to reach out as soon as possible. Don't be coming to this guy a week out saying, hey, Devon, you want to come to Timbuktu? Come on now. Come on now, folks. Reach out to this man ahead of time. Get business locked in so he can be out there and meet the wonderful people in your area. He's been to Canada. He's been to Las Vegas, events down there in Florida. You just heard him. He's going to be out there in Long Island. He's going to be in Rhode Island. This man will go. But you gotta do business ahead of time so that he can have his schedule planned out and make sense. Certainly. Also, Duke Loves Wrestling at gmail.com. Duke Loves Wrestling on Twitter, on Facebook. I am appreciating very much all of the messages, all of the comments that you folks are sending in. Certainly, we appreciate the support, and we're going to keep going. And if you are a fellow legend out there and you have a question, because that's another thing, any wrestlers in the industry who wanted to always ask Devon something, even if you want it to be a blind item, you can send in your questions. This man ain't afraid to answer. So please send it in, and we'll definitely get it out here and talk about it. In closing, we have a very special birthday shout out going out to Angie, aka Ma Renegade. She is the lovely mother of the Renegade twins. She just celebrated her birthday on the 17th of this month, Tuesday the 17th, and she is just such a wonderful person. She is a God-fearing woman. Her and her husband have raised a wonderful family. Her daughters in particular, Charlette and Robyn, they're signed to AEW right now. They perform in ROH as well. Just two wonderful young ladies who I've had the pleasure of getting to know through the years and promoting on the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast. I know Devon has met them and knows them as well. So happy birthday, Angie, and blessings to you and your family. Great folks there. Devon, what do you got to say to her?
Happy birthday. Many more trips around the sun. Keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for everything that you've done, including bringing the twins into the world. Am I correct? They're twins, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Well, again, thank you for bringing those two lovely young ladies in. And again, nothing but praise for you in terms of your birthday. And again, enjoy the trip around the sun again.
That's right. Listen, folks, we appreciate you as always. Be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Devon, give us the last word of the day. This has turned into a big deal, by the way. Folks are always anticipating and waiting to hear Devon's word of the day, or as I should say, word of the week. So, what do you got for us there, Devon?
Do unto others as you would want others to do unto you. I know it's a saying that people know, but you have to keep it to your heart and keep it strong. Because even though you might not like an individual or a person, you just got to be kind to them and turn the other cheek. I hate to say it, but you do. It'll make things a lot better, and you'll feel better about yourself. Trust me.
Take it away, Tony Schiavone.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.